today's Paano Ba To video is very different and very, very special. We're going to talk about pursuing your dreams, reaching for your goals, and taking that fearless first step. And I decided to invite none other than Queen Catriona Gray.
Hi everyone!
So yeah, thank you for your precious time. I know the pageant is so near. How are preparations going?
It's just been such a whirlwind talaga since March, since being crowned in Binibining. I really got everything out of the way in the first few months, like the requirements, like wardrobe, gowns, national costumes, so that's all done. I don't have to worry about that. Right now, it's really about just pampering myself. I want to be in a good mental space. I think it's so important. Making sure I get enough sleep, making sure I'm pampering my skin and my hair so that I'm glowing and eating well, and just reviewing different topics too.
That's also part of it.
Yeah, Q&A in Miss Universe is quite unpredictable.
Prior to entering pageants, have you been a regimen kind of girl? Or are you very low maintenance?
I'm super low maintenance. As in, like, I just like putting 2 things on and I'm good to go. When you're on stage and there's all these lights, there's a tendency to put a lot of makeup, and so you need a good base. So that it goes on smooth, so that it stays there, your skin's not too oily or it's not too dry. So skincare became a big thing for me.
Yeah, and I can imagine with the lack of sleep.
Exactly.
Let's just rewind about your pageant story for a bit. Originally, being a beauty queen or joining the pageant world was not in your list of dreams.
Not at all.
So how did that come about?
I think the funny thing about life is, like, every time you plan, it always ends up somewhere completely different. My mom was a huge fan of Miss Universe ever since I was a little girl. And she actually joined for Binibini back in like the 80s. So she didn't make the cut. I was doing volunteer work at a charity at the time. And a couple months later, one of my good friends, Valerie Weigman, who is Miss Red 2014 Philippines, she joined. And then that was my first exposure to the pageant world.
But you were fully into modeling.
Yes. I just saw how much exposure there was there. So I thought, wow, as a model, this is how I can do this much for my charity. But as a beauty queen, the potential to reach how many more people and to get that much more awareness, I was opened up to the world of beauty pageants and its potential as a platform.
What was your fearless first step in getting into that world?
Going into Binibini, I definitely did have fears. One, I was past national title holder. And then all of a sudden, I decided to join again. And that decision really didn't come about well. It was full of hesitancy, but coming to terms with my fear, the fear of going out there again, putting yourself out there again. It's very humbling to go from being a queen back to a competitor on equal footing as everyone else. So it was more of a like, oh my gosh, I really have to step up my game because the expectations of people are so high of me. It was a lot of internal dialogue that was happening inside my mind. What would I do today if I didn't care what other people thought? What would I do if I didn't have that fear? If I would visualize my day and I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do today.
How about any person in your life that nudged you into, okay, I'm taking that first step?
I had 2 people who are in my core team. They were there for me every hour of the day. If I just was like, guys, I'm freaking out. Please tell me if I'm doing this for the right reasons or am I on the right path? And they would always be there to reassure me. Having that core gave me the strength to like step out and conquer my fear.
And speaking of support system, like Catriona said, we have 4 more beauty queens joining us here. Thank you for your time. Okay, so we're just gonna continue the discussion on this fearless first step, getting into something. The most common answer I got when asking people, what's one thing you want to get into but parang something stopping you? One of the most common is business talaga. So many Pinoy say they want to get into business. And Rachel, you are a businesswoman. What was that first step that you had to take from someone who didn't have a business but just wanted to?
I was going back and forth to Siargao so much. And it kind of got to a point I need an excuse to keep coming back because this is getting ridiculous. First step was really acquiring the land where I was gonna set up the business.
Right.
And so once that was locked in, there was really no turning back. While I was at university in Australia, I was a barista. That's something I did for 3 years. I learned a lot about making the coffee myself. I also started to manage the people in the coffee shop, and I started doing the ordering and things like that. When I went to Siargao, I realized this is the perfect opportunity for me.
How's business doing now?
Great.
How's everything?
It's really good. You should all come and visit.
Yes.
How can we take this in Siargao?
they say that starting is one thing, but keeping it alive and afloat and relevant is another thing.
Honestly, I feel like so long as you're really passionate about what you do, even though it's hard, you're always going to find a way to make it work. It's so gratifying every time someone sends me a picture saying like, this is the best coffee.
Wow.
It's something so simple. I mean, it's just a cup of coffee, but all the hard work and effort that I put into it, it paid off and it feels so good.
Aside from the coffee shop business, Laura naman is going to do a movie and TV shows. Nice. Was it always in your mind to get into TV work?
I never thought I would do anything related to it. I grew up very geeky, very into school. I was supposed to become a doctor. When I was in college, I was studying neuroscience. So, geeky talaga ako. Talaga akong alam sa pageants or makeup. The opportunity presented itself to join pageants. I kind of just joined as an opportunity to come back to the Philippines.
What was your fearless first step from moving from the pageant world to the movie and TV business?
At first, it was my plan to go back to med. And by choosing to do movies, it was such a big risk because it was like changing everything that I worked for. You know, it was delving into something I had no idea about. I don't know how to act. I didn't know anything. The fearless first step is learning to believe in yourself. Because when you have that confidence to do something no matter what other people say, then that's when you actually achieve what you want.
But that's easier said than done.
Yeah,
Parang
easier
going
said.
past. How do you get past that?
For me, I think a lot of it was, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but you know the saying, fake it till you make it. When I would host in the beginning, I would always be so self-conscious about what I was saying and if people were making fun of me. But you really have to be matapang and find that energy within yourself.
Was there ever a day that you woke up and checked social media and there was this comment and it really put you in a bad mood?
With me, I delete.
Ako rin. Yeah.
Very similar to that is Christy, and your line of work after the pageant world is sharing your music.
It was a difficult transition because everyone perceives a beauty queen to always be very
Prim and proper.
But anyone who knows me before the pageant world knows that I was extremely tomboy, and I was also a very social butterfly. Connecting people was something that I always knew I wanted to do. When I started to DJ, I was able to express myself through music, and of course you have many fears that just come with that, such as financial stability and people not accepting the music that you like to play or whatever it may be.
Yeah. How did you step into playing professionally?
Me and my boyfriend would actually go into the clubs before they even open just to practice on the equipment. With every passion is discipline and practicing your craft, and also not focusing so much on comparing yourself to others around you, improving your own personal skills and developing yourself and what you want to present. Hours and hours in the studios and the clubs before they even opened, just learning. Next thing you know, the gigs kept on coming. The experience that you get to connect with people in the crowd or just see them dance and smile and inspire them, there's no more rewarding feeling. If you love that feeling and if you want to keep experiencing that, then push for it. If you're passionate about something, then don't be scared to pursue it. And if your heart's fully into it, just chase after it, because I never thought I would ever become a professional DJ. That was such a dream job.
This generation is a very passion and purpose-driven generation. They say nga, lucky are those who find their purpose in life early on. And you have always known your purpose.
I learned about my purpose when I first joined the pageant.
It was connected.
It was very much connected. In fact, joining the beauty pageant was not my plan at all. I wanted to be a doctor as well.
Say.
So I was discovered. Someone said that last day of auditions is already this Saturday. And I'm like, when is the coronation night? February 20. Wait, that's the weekend when I'm supposed to go to Guam and take my physical therapy board exams.
It was a life decision.
It was a
talaga.
life decision. I found myself on a crossroad. Imagine the weight of this decision that I have. Two great opportunities. One is to pursue my childhood dream to become a beauty queen, to pursue medicine. What would you choose, right?
Grabe that life decision. It's like a world of what ifs, whichever way you go. But do you have those what ifs now or not at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, life is always faced with decisions and options. We always have to discern what is best for me. And to cut the long story short, I really felt in my heart that God was leading me to join the pageant, to shine my light, because He's going to use me to help other people. When I was young, 5 years old, I was always watching Miss Universe year after year. I even stood up on the table, raised my arms out, and shouted, Miss Philippines! So I really wanted to be a beauty queen as a young girl.
9 years old.
I believe that God plants dreams in people's hearts, no matter what age they are. And that drives us to pursue that passion, no matter what obstacles come our way.
Of course, I will take this chance that there are beauty queens here to ask a final beauty queen question to everyone. No pressure. No pressure at all. I was telling Catriona earlier that when I was asking people about something they wanted to get into but are afraid to, the top 2 reasons that they say they're afraid to get into something, whatever it is, 1, fear of failure, and 2nd is fear of what other people will say. How do you take that fearless first step?
Growing up, I was a very fearful little girl, whether it was like petting a dog or trying a new sport. Having joined a pageant, for me, it was a huge step. And I think just understanding that when you fear something, it means that what you're doing is worth your while. I started to crave being fearful for something because when you finally got over that barrier, you're the bigger, better person. You realize that you're capable of whatever it is you want to pursue. You can do it.
Yeah.
And just to add, being fearless is not having the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear, but still doing it.
Yeah.
That's
knowing
courage.
how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't be afraid of fear. Or don't fear fear because it
Yeah.
helps you, it pushes you, it motivates you.
When it comes to fear and you want to pursue something you're passionate about, I think it really does begin, very beauty pageant answer, is with loving yourself.
And when it comes to fear of what other people think, for me, I always reason with myself that not everyone knows the length and the depth of your personal journey. No one knows what you've been through, your experiences, so their judgment cast upon you is just a shallow perspective. They don't know what you're fully capable of, so why would you take their judgment to define everything that you are?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just how I reason with it.
Miss Universe 2018. Thank you so much, ladies. I felt like I had a life workshop. We hope that helped someone or anyone going through something similar. That's it. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.